What's up, troop? It's Unders, and the aim of this video is going to be an in-depth look at getting these vocals and generally this mix to sort of marry together. When I've brought all the vocals in, I've I've done it, chopped them up into the key parts. So the reason I do this is just a quick visual indicator. I can look at something and know how busy it is vocal-wise, and there are all these purple sections right here. And I'd actually probably layer this up like so. So I know those two are going to be working really together. The way to do that's really simple. If I take this section just here, in Logic I can just do Command and X and it brings up this menu here for me where I can just chop away any silences. Now this particular section's got a couple of little breaths and things in there. So just using the in and out time here, look, I can decide how much I want that to work. And if I give it like a pre-attack time, sort of coming into where the vocal starts, and then we would give like a minimum accept time, right? That can get rid of everything, like even the tiniest moment. I tend to just leave that a little bit higher up, and then post-release time if we think we need it, and that's just gonna take away a couple of little breaths in between there, and we could just hit OK like that, and it will chop those up for us. Now today's video is sponsored by DistroKid. They are my music distributor. If you want to get your music out to all of those major streaming platforms at a price an independent artists just like yourself can easily afford, check the description below this video for a discount off of your first year today. I'll tend to leave everything highlighted as so, and then if I just grab say here and put a fade in, it'll put a fade in all of those spaces, and then I could zoom in a little more and do that right at the start. I'm going to do a similar thing. So they've now been chopped and faded. Really easy way to work, and cuts out breaths, cuts out silence. And yeah, if there's say microphone noise on all of the channels and it's really minor, it might be really minor on one channel, but when we've got say all of these layers building up, right, we're going to have an exacerbation of that noise. It's just going to build up over the course of like 9, 10, 20, however many vocal channels you've got. So it's just good practice just to cut all that quiet stuff away. The other thing I've done is I've brought everything back. So I'll just bulk select the vocals and I'll knock it back in gain. In this case, -9 dBs, brought it somewhere more in line with the overall track. And then I've brought the faders down, in this case by 2.5. For some reason I've bumped this one up a little bit, and that's just to give me a little bit of room to maybe work upwards, but likelihood is I'm going to pull them further back. Now I could have pulled the gain back at -12 dB, but that was a little too much and they were becoming more hidden in the track than I wanted them to be. Now we've got a couple of EQs happening on some of the vocals, and there was another video where I showed how I go about the quick EQ vocal process. If you want to dive into that, just that on its own, I'll link that below for you, but I'll be doing some more of it as we go through this video here. So that's all we're really at. So what I'll like to do now really is listen to key parts of the track and just think, how am I going to bring this all together? And would I want to comp this vocal into just 1-2 channel, then bring that back in? We'll decide as we go. I don't always work in that process, but let's box off, say, these bars here.
Ooh, my head's in the cloud. Ooh, nowhere else I could go.
One of the main things that I like to use post the EQ is the CLA vocal. That's going to give me a lot of space and a lot of definition, but it will also squish the vocal quite a bit. However, it also gives me an in and out, which allows me to automate the gain, which I think in the start here is going to be really important because we're going to want to bring that gain back quite a bit for this intro section here. Okay? Now when the drums and everything come in, it's much more at an acceptable level, but I think here we really need to focus on that. So what we're going to do here is just open up CLA vocals and just pop that on our channel here.
Ooh, my head's in the cloud. Ooh,
you can hear what that's doing right off the bat.
Ooh, didn't want to come down.
And Yeah, just straight away. We're getting a little pop there with a bit of delay where it's being turned on and off. So it's not the vocal cut itself, which is good. The slap delay is quite nice, but I think that needs to come back a bit. Probably just a couple. I mean, I say dB, this isn't really measuring in dB, this is how much it's pushed into an effect. And the reverb being on tight is quite nice as well with what it's tied into.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud.
Yeah, large would probably be too much.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud.
That might be nice on the intro, but for the rest of the track, we definitely want to keep it on tight. So if we want to do some big, wide stuff on the intro, we'll stick that on a bus. I think that was quite nice at 0 as well. I'm going to turn the compressor off. The bite top body.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud.
Roof being really high end. It's giving us some S-ing issues.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud.
Top's quite nice. And I think it could actually benefit from a boost.
Cloud, cloud.
And sub I don't think we need.
Cloud, cloud, cloud.
Okay, so straight away, some S issues are cropping up ever so slightly. I like to use a de-esser from FabFilter, but honestly, use any de-esser or a multi-band compressor or a dynamic EQ. They're all going to allow you to control those things. It's right sort of here. I think it can do with a little bit pull back on the threshold.
My head's in the cloud, cloud.
And that's just got a much nicer bit of control.
My head's in the cloud, cloud.
So that S sticks out, and now
my head's in the cloud, cloud.
Lovely bit of control there. Okay. So we're sounding nicer straight away. For example, we've gone from this.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud. My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud.
We're peaking at about minus 12.5. So let's just check with CLA and everything on that we're not peaking too much more above that, and we can look at adjusting the gain if need be.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud.
Okay, so we've gained about a decibel. So we're going to go to CLA vocals, and we're going to just take the output to -1, just to roughly gain stage that where it was. Remember, it was already quite loud. Adding another dB is just going to be counterproductive for us, and we want to kind of manage that gain staging as we go.
My head's in the cloud, cloud, cloud. Nowhere else I could go.
All right, so how about in the later section here, in context.
I made it beautiful. Now you come around, round, round. When you're changing it all. They don't wanna come down, down, down. Now you come around, round, round. When you're changing it all.
Alright, so it's still quite loud. Now here I'm going to use the fader to bring it back into the right sort of ballpark of where I think it should sit. My monitoring level, I'm going to turn that right down so everything's just about audible. And I want to bring that into a nice comfortable position. And then I'm going to look at using the gain staging in CLA to do the adjustment at the start to bring it in. So let's see how that works out.
Now you come around, round.
So I'm going to bring this right down. I think it's probably going to be somewhere around -6 from experience. It sounds about right.
They don't wanna come down, down, down. Let the answer call. So beautiful. Now you come around, round, round.
Okay, so I'm monitoring really low. I can make out everything in the mix, and I can make out the clarity of the vocal now, nearly -7 dB.
They don't wanna come down, down, down. Let the answer call.
Now what we could take from that, instead of pulling back so much on the fader, we could actually go to CLA vocals, take this down now to -4 on the output, and then on here go to -3.8, and that should sit comfortably, and it's not been pulled back loads on the fader. Just some smaller and smaller adjustments. And that's nicely balanced. Now listening here, we've got quite a big dynamic jump. I'm not going to use the compressor in CLA vocals. In fact, I'm going to go post de-esser. I've got a compressor in here already. And you can just hear some key phrases getting lost. In fact, we can even see it in the waveform, right? Just like here, it's really losing its energy, and it comes back here. So we want to kind of level that out a bit, and that's what we're going to look to do here. That's just quite a smooth vocal, so I'd like the attack to be quite smooth. Try it sort of up in 50. And I'm going to be quite slow with the release as well. I don't want this to suddenly pump when that changes and looks into that next phrase. So I'm going to go as high as 200, turn auto off and work it from there. I'm going to leave auto gain off, I'll do that manually. Probably something like 2/5 as a compression ratio. Let's bring that, dial it in a bit. And realistically, probably somewhere between 3-4 dB reduction. Yeah, and you can see there's nearly 3 dB of difference between the quieter phrases. So we can give ourselves sort of 3.5 dB back now. That should be sitting a little bit nicer. Alright, let's have a little look at adjusting that at the start as well. So if I press A, you can see my automation lanes. I'll just leave it on this lane. We can go to CLA and we can go to output, and it will show us our current value, which is -4. And we know at bar 16, -4 is where we want to be at. So we just put a point in there, and it's giving us -4.1. Can I snap it to 4? Probably not, because it's logic. And snaps all over the show. Okay, now we're going to zoom in because I want the adjustment up to happen in a really short space of time, just here where the phrase has ended and before it comes into the next one. So we're going to put a point there. Now we can bring that down. I think realistically we can probably bring that down sort of -7. We need to bring our start point down to a similar point as well, like so. And hopefully now that will give us what we're after in the starting vocal being a little bit quieter where everything else is a bit quieter, and then lifting up a bit as the drums and everything come in. So let's have a listen for some context, shall we?
My head's in the cloud. Nowhere else I could go. Didn't wanna come down. I made it beautiful.
And that works quite nicely. And that might not be how it is in the final adjustment, but I'm getting the feel for the song and how I want the performance to go. Now there's some things in the performance I think we can maybe play around with here as well. The timing feels a little too loose in places. Now there's things we can do to automatically tighten that up, and I think I'm going to have a look at doing that. So what we'll do, we'll highlight, say, this section just here. Yeah, that phrasing feels a little bit off. I could cut the individual phrases out and line it up. And yeah, if I say it feels a little bit off, we can see there it's kind of not landing on any key points. It's in between our 16th. What I'm going to try doing, I don't know if this will work or not, is using effectively quantization but on audio. So I'm going to switch this on just here. What we'll do so we can see it a little bit easier. If I press E, it brings up the audio editor. So here's the current piece of audio I've got selected. If I switch on the flex editor just here, it's going to say turn on flex. It will take a moment because it's going to assess that entire audio track. And that's our main vocal, so it runs the course of the track. And without the magic of editing, it was actually very, very quick. So from here, it's picked up most of those key transients, right? Now, very simply, while it's selected, in the inspector up here, I could grab a quantized value and let's just snap it to 16ths. Okay, we can see it's done that. And let's see if that's a little bit nicer for us. Okay, so we've got a little bit of unnatural, like warbling happening. This part's nice. Alright, so we need to look at this section here. Just there, isn't it? Just here. I think it's probably this phrasing here. What we can maybe do is delete this point here. And it's still a little bit warbled, but this is helping it sit much more nicely on the phrasing, right? And you can see there's a point there catching, but it's making it so those sit nicely. Now, if we were to try and pull that back, that was what was causing that phrase before to warble too much. So that's what we've done there. And in the context, let's listen to it in the context of this whole section. I think it comes down to some tuning as well. So we could maybe look at fixing that as well. Now the track is in A minor. I don't use anything particularly special for tuning vocals, but what I do make sure I do is I correct it early on in the chain. So here we're just going to go in that same chain and we're going to go and choose pitch, and we're going to go for pitch correction. And I do still just use the stock Logic one. I feel most of the time it does a good job. And I'm pretty sure this is natural minor. If we pick up A minor. Okay, so I think we need to be a little bit faster in how it snaps, maybe somewhere around the 70-80 region. It's snapping a little too hard on that long note for me. It's a situation like that where pitch corrector might not be the way to go, and instead we need to look at our flex pitch functionality, which we can equally do the timing with as well, but we'll need to reapply in this case. Okay, so now we've got the individual notation. And here we could manually start looking at our timing, our fixing. So again, I could select this section here, and this time instead of using the inspector to go for the timing, I can do just this section, got a time quantize, pop that on 16ths. It's going to warble it a bit. That's helped us out a little bit. Now that kind of fluctuation here, we can actually visually see it now. We go down and woof, we fly up, and the next note drops down dramatically. So how can we fix that is a real thing we need to consider. We've got a few tools at our disposal to help us out. One is to very simply control the vibrato and how much it's going to move in that note. And that's pretty good. We can change the pitch drift as well, so we can determine if it's actually going to start drifting down to that next note instead of flying up like it does. You can see here where we detected that it's moving from two different notes. This note is technically off, and that's what the pitch corrector was grabbing and then moving it up into here. However, that being off key kind of works because it sweeps into the tune of where it should be. We can exacerbate that and have it happen a little quicker. And that works a little nicer. It's now almost in the right note. It's bare. It goes from tune, just out of tune, and back in quite quickly. I said about that vibrato before, we can see it there wobbling around in the note. The pitch corrector just nailed it right in the middle and didn't allow it to wobble even within the retention of the note. Now we can exacerbate that if we actually like that. To be honest, I like it where it was, the natural note. But we could even tighten it up a little bit if we wanted it to. I like the natural warble because it's quite a long note. And there's going to be lots of this going throughout this track. It's just unfortunate that some of the timing, for whatever reason, is just fallen out in key places. I think we're going to do a similar thing here in terms of the timing onto 16ths. And as you can see, they're small adjustments, but they make so much difference with sitting with the rhythm of the track. I think here I'm going to be quite aggressive with correcting these pitch. So I'm going to select the whole lot, do right click, and we're going to set all to perfect pitch. And I want to set these notes in particular to perfect pitch. Kind of got a good feeling for this first part. What I would really do is actually go through the entire main vocal. That doesn't serve you in the purpose of a video. So let's imagine that I've gone through the entire track and done that. I will have to eventually. But then I would start addressing the harmonies and make sure they're all sitting in time as well with the main vocal, because now we've moved timing of things, we're going to get some weird shifting happening.
Ooh, nowhere else I could go.
So we'll have a look at tackling that in just a moment. While we're working here, however, I'm actually going to get these two channels as well so that they're in flex pitch. So we're going to turn on flex. It's going to analyze the transients for that entire region. And then we're going to switch that over to flex pitch. And we're going to do the same for here. So I'm going to select this channel, select all of these parts. As you can see, they're all highlighted. What we want to do is highlight the notes within this regions as well. We're going to quantize them. We're going to stick to those 16th. Now, because it's a vocal and in flex pitch mode, just that visually gives us a fantastic indicator there that we might want to really address that. Most of the notes are out. Some are borderline off key. So we can really look at correcting those, and it's just a great visual indicator that, I really need to address that, especially as everything else is pretty much spot on. And because it's a vocal, correcting these to 16ths doesn't necessarily make it too rigid, because it's picking up off of the transients in the vocal. It's not like a drum hit, for example, which is very rigid and in its place. This will still have some movement to it and some natural flow, but it's going to lead us to having to do quite a bit of correction. It would have been really nice to just put the pitch control on here and that fixed everything, but we've got more going on than meets the eye. And these small phrases, again, it would be nice to just have them, bang on. As you can see, that it just misses the 16th. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, for the most part, these are okay. This phrase here. Okay, so now we've corrected the timing.
Ooh, now you've come around, round, round. Ooh, and you're changing it all. I hear you coming.
I mean, that helps a lot, just having everything nicely timed together. All right, let's have a little look at this situation, just because once we correct the timing of that main vocal and we've got this dedicated harmony below it, that's going to give us some real problems. So let's have a look at this section here. And well, firstly, we're going to have a listen.
Nowhere else I could go.
Let's get some context.
Didn't want to come down, down, down. Ooh, I made it beautiful.
Okay, this section, this can stay loose. It's not dependent on the really rigid drums in this part. I've got a breakdown with the saxophone, right? And the looseness works here.
Nowhere else I could go. Ooh, didn't want to come down, down, down. Ooh, I made it beautiful. Ooh, now you come around, round, round. Ooh, and you're changing it all. Ooh, didn't want to come down, down, down. Ooh, and fancy your call. It's so beautiful. So beautiful.
All right, the looseness in the breakdown section, I can get away with it. It really does work. How about here?
No, mommy, I was fine. I needed nothing, no.
Okay, here we're suffering with a timing issue. This is a channel that we have addressed, but the channel below it is something we haven't. So for example, we can really look at this. So the timing here is definitely off with the drums. You hear it almost instantly, right?
No, mommy, I was fine. I needed nothing, no.
It's just a little bit in and out. It's got too much of a push-pull to go with the rest of the track. So let's highlight it all. We're going to pop it on 16ths. See quite a bit of movement happen, right?
No, mommy, I was fine. I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
All right.
No,
Now, because we've done that, the layer below now clashes in places. Let's listen to them in isolation.
no, mommy, I was fine. I needed nothing, no.
And we're getting phasing. So that's where we need to be careful when we're doing this, because now we need to correct this layer as well. So we're going to switch this on. We'll stick with the same kind of algorithm and perceptions. We'll put it into flex pitch, and it gives us the option for some pitch correction as well. Find our notes, because for some reason Logic decides to look completely elsewhere. Let's select all of these guys here, and I'm seeing here, I mean, this particular part might not need much correction. It works with the kind of not off key, but kind of not quite there moment, but the timing is absolutely paramount. So let's give that 16ths as well. Now check them in context.
No, mommy, I was fine. I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
Okay, slightly better. Let's just come on Z that so you can hear.
No, mommy, I was fine. I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me me at a time I wasn't looking, oh.
Alright, and then corrected.
No, mommy, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, oh. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing,
Context.
no. No, mommy, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, oh. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
What about if we play around with everything being in perfect pitch? Let's just mute the harmony layer and work with this layer here. Select all the notes. We can right click anywhere and do set all to perfect pitch.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
I think it's nicer. It's a little bit robotic now though, right? Especially in this moment round here.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
Da 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 da, you know, it doesn't quite ring true. So what can we do with that? The majority of it is sounding better, 100%. This section isn't. Could it be as simple as moving this note one semitone? Could it be that simple?
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind. Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're. Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
I mean, it's not perfect.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
We can use our sort of transitions and the amount it's going to sit. Oh, don't want the format shift. The amount it's going to sit and drift within there.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
Because now instead of going it's da 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 da, it's more of a rhythm. Now, if we maybe use the harmony to do a similar thing with it, let's see if that lets us play the game. The harmony has got many more issues. So let's set all to perfect pitch. And I'm just noticing some off notes. I mean, I just know that A minor is all white notes. I didn't notice that happening in here. Phrases in between notes. Yeah, small. I'm not really a stickler for in between phrases going off key. It happens in just about everything, but any sustained note needs to be in key. Now I'm noticing some in here, like here, for example.
Don't mind me, I was fine.
Now maybe I could correct it up to here.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
That works, okay. Might not have, it might have sounded more natural as it swung between those phrases, those notes, but
don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
that's okay. I've noticed in here a lot more to work needs to be done, right?
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
A lot more work needs to be done. So we've got everything selected. We're gonna get it onto 16ths. It's already done. We've now got everything set to its specific note. Now it's gonna be a case of where can we fit that? I think these notes, we're gonna have to come up here. Now something we can do, we've got these phrases here, they're now all together in the same note because they've been corrected to that, right?
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
Sounds a bit weird
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed.
because they're trying to go all the way down here as well. So we might want to move the entire phrase off to what it doesn't necessarily say that it should be down there, but it might work better. We can kind of follow our line of where it naturally goes. You can see this drops way off, but it's a breath.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
Now, if that sounds okay, the other thing we could look at doing is splitting it up a bit, popping this one here, so keeping this, so it's just split into these three notes.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing, no.
Now that seems okay. What I would do, I would put this, which we know is just almost dead space, down there too.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing.
Now to stop that jerky moment going on, we can select these three notes all together like so, and we can go T and G, and it will join them. Now stuck them back up there where we don't want them, but we can do that. We can now set to perfect pitch.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed nothing.
That's moving way too much, so we're going to nail the vibrato right in.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed. Don't mind me, I was fine.
Right, so maybe up here.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed.
Alright, layered up.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed. Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed.
Definitely not. So let's try and match the phrasing and the key, because they're fighting with each other now. So we go, D is going to be roughly where we want that to be. So let's bring it up. We want that phrase to be on D.
Don't mind me, I was fine, I needed. Don't mind me, I was fine.
Now we've got big pitch drift going on. Let's try and bring that in so it starts where we were. That's better. Now phrasing wise on here, then goes back up for this note, and I wonder if we can get away with that, and that's this note just here. It's going to sound unnatural solo, but as the harmony. Okay, so that works well for us.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
I want you to remember that this harmony and the vocal we're listening to, we've also got no effects on. I mean, they've got a very basic EQ, right? A bit of a lift and a dip going on. That's it. That's all that's happening. So I'm just doing that tuning to get them as good as possible in this instance. I've got the spacing for my main vocal. I like to have that. But in this instance, that's all we've done. So we've still got all the scope of adding vocals in.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
So here's what I'm going to do with this particular part here, which is sort of the lead of this section, even though it's the harmony and that whole like vocal change going on. I'm going to take my CLA that I set up on the other channel.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no.
That gives some nice spacing. Definitely need the DS.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off.
Now in this instance, the CLA's brought it down too far. So we're just going to make it down 1 dB.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. And now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
I'm going to bring the harmony version down. That sounds nice.
You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. And now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
That's pretty consistent level-wise as well. It sits where it should do the whole time. So I don't think we need necessarily to compress it. I might have to bring the level down a little bit.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no.
Although that sits quite nicely. I'm getting some accentuated S's from the layers, so I'm literally just going to copy my DS settings over to here.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off.
That's nicer.
Call me at a time I wasn't looking, no. And now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
Alright, the other thing I want to do now is give the lead part a little bit of space. So I'm going to put that into Vox Room 7, which is the same as where the other main vocal is. If I just hold Control and tap it, 100% send. It'll be way too much, but I know that from too much I can dial it back to where it's right.
No, mommy, I was on, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. And now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no. No, mommy, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind.
So that's quite nice. I think I'll go a little bit higher than nice.
Now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
Kind of want this to have a little bit extra ring, I think.
No, mommy, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. And now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no.
Now we're getting quite a reinforcement in the low end, sending it to the vocal room. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the vocal room. I'll just bring up the standard EQ on it.
No, mommy, I was fine, I needed nothing.
Yeah, so we've got details as low as 200 going on. There's nothing popping up in here, which would be like as low as -60, but I'm just going to pop a gentle roll off from 200, just to be sure.
No, mommy, I was fine, I needed nothing, no. And now you're on my mind and I can't shake you off. You called me at a time I wasn't looking, no. And now you're giving me a sign that something's missing, no. No,
Alright, and that's a lot of the process that I'll go down in applying effects to vocals and using flex pitch, and we're going to keep going through this deeper and deeper. Hope the video's been really useful to you so far. I just want to throw in a real quick apology. If you can hear a dog barking or anything like that on my VO, I've had to open the windows. It is 35 degrees here in the UK, and where we live, it is not built to be this hot. So I've had to open up all the windows despite recording right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little listen to what we've done so far and how we feel about it.
Maybe
So listening over those first 50 bars, essentially, I like what we've done here. This sounds good. The nice lift up with the gain, that sounds good. The kind of spacing we've got with the vocals sounds good. Bear in mind that on all of these here, we've got no effect chain really either. We've just been using the flex pitch and adjusting the timing just to get these phrases and parts sounding a lot nicer. Now even that overly off-key bit at the start kind of works because it's kind of all off-key and then into key, and I actually quite like that, so I'm not going to go back and correct it even. It works with that reverse sweep part, right? Bringing this into bar 1. What I do notice is the pitch correct sections here, they've become a little bit too robotic. However, there's something I want to do with those, and I'm going to make myself a new channel because I'm in the digital realm and I can, and it just makes life easier. So I'm going to select that and do Command D. I'm going to take these down to a new channel below just here. I'm going to use a lot of effects and spacing to really kind of blow that section out of proportion and give it a different feel. Take my Cla Vocal preset and bring it over. But we're going to change a couple of things up. I'm going to put the delay on quarter, but leave it low. We're going to change the reverb type to chamber. I'm also going to put the widening and effects on. I'm going to put this straight to wide and probably push it up by around, I say 3 dB, but again, these are just like sliders for how much it goes into an effect. Now they make it a little more acceptable already just by changing the tonality. What I definitely need to do is some compression as well, and I want it to be quite transparent. I'm going to use Logic's stock compressor for it. I'll leave it on Platinum Digital. I'm going to take auto gain off. I'm going to go quite high on the ratio this time, and I want this to be quite quick on the attack, but again slowish on the release. Around the 200 marker should be okay. And what I really wanted to catch is I wanted to catch this phrase here. Just like it is right there, and I might not need to even add the gain back here for the way it sits. The reason that works is the quiet bits were already sat about where they should be, and the loud bits were just too loud. I've given it some gain reduction and just pulled those back and left it where it is. Don't need to add anything else to it. It's just controlled by I think as much as 6 dB there we saw, probably around the 5 as the average. I'm just going to leave that there. Alright. I have noticed that this little bit here isn't adding anything. It might arguably be silence. There's look the remnants of a note, but there's nothing really there. The note or phrase comes from the next part. So I'm going to get rid of that. It doesn't need to be there. It's just likely going to cause a problem, so that can go away as well. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to send this to a different reverb, or maybe give its own reverb on the channel. No, I'm going to send it to another reverb, and I've already got one set up here called Chroma, which has got an H delay after it, so it's a delay on the reverb. I'm going to make use of that already being set up and send it over to it. It's called Room Verb, and let's give it far too much. Doing the job quite nicely. Just so you can hear what that's doing, it's a delay on a reverb, so we're delaying the reverb on set, and it's a blend of the two. So this is what that effect does. Right, just really helps extend everything out. Almost makes like a pad underneath, right? That's what I want in that section. I need something else sitting under it to all have it work together. Why not use the sounds of the environment to make that pad? Yeah, that's all it does, really. I'm going to take it back another dB on the fader. And it's still a little too robotic, even with all the effects softening it up. So this section just here, we're going to have a listen over and over. And I feel it's just this part here. I might get away with just bringing this note into key. That actually works okay. And even though this is going to bring this further out of key, it's going to kind of wobble, I'm going to bring this down, fine pitch, so it's closer to being at least within a note. That sounds a lot more natural, a lot nicer. You know, like I said before, sometimes the notes transition between keys naturally before they land on their note. Now another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give these little accents below their own bit of automation. I want to put a delay directly onto this channel, but I'm going to automate the delay. I could just make another channel for it like I did before, but I feel that I might use it again later. So let's just have it there as an effect that we can then touch to. I'm going to put the tape delay on and just set the dry back to be 100 here. And we're going to automate the wet. So we'll take it down to 0 for the moment. And let's just press A to get our automation lanes back. And we're going to go tape delay, and we're going to take the wet amount, and I'm going to automate that at the key moments I want it to come in, which is just here. We're going to push it right up to something like 60, and I might take it down on rhythm like this. So we're sort of sticking to that 16th, so that takes it right out. We'll look at that as a point to bring it back into, like so, and a point to bring it back out around there. Let's try that. Alright, so that's too much. We can establish that, that's for sure. So we're just going to gauge it like so. The other thing I want to do is change the timing of it. I want it to be a little bit quicker, so let's do 1/8. The reason I like the tape delay, I can have this deviation, so I've got that -3%. It means it's within the 1/8, but it's just ever so slightly off, just to give a bit more of an organic feel. Especially after we've nailed everything down to be bang on, it just adds that little feel to it. Now we've automated that to bring the wet in at the right moment. Now we need to have a look at the feedback. So we'll use a little drop down here, add ourselves another channel, go to the tape delay, and well, you can guess we're going to grab feedback, right? So from here, we can just choose the feedback of what we want, and we'll push it nicely up like that, and make sure it's taken out for the key moments as well. And we'll do something similar like that, and it will be trial and error as to how well it works or whether it becomes too much. So let's listen. Okay, that works quite nicely. We need to bring down the wet amount, I think maybe into sort of 20s and maybe pushing up to 40 at a push there. So something like that, more likely. All right. And I'm going to let that extend a little bit further, bring it out like that instead. maybe even get away with keeping it in the whole time. Oh, but just making sure it remains controlled, doesn't get out of hand.
So beautiful.
Again, that gives us lots of control over how that feels. And I could use it in these sections here as well. And here we could even play around with the timing as well. Let's add another layer and let's go to the tape delay. And note is our tape delay time. And we want this to be on 1/8 because that's how we've set that up here. But here we might want to do, say, 1/4. And we might want to bring it in for just say this phrasing here. And we'll control the feedback, something in that kind of realm probably. Let's see how we go. Yeah, we could then do very similar with these phrases and just have them carry over in the background, but just be controlled by the feedback and wet control of the delay. 1/4 instead of 1/8. And they just give us that really nice padded out feel to the vocal, adding an extra layer to how it all sounds. Let's grab them just in out of context. It's just a nice little layer to add in there. So those are the main things I'm going to do, and instead of repeating it over and over for the sake of a video, that's not helpful for you. I've segmented some of the key other parts that I do, like how to EQ vocals, and you can see that in this video here. I really hope that this has been helpful for you and has given you some ideas and things that you can use in your music to help you get your vocals sitting in context and working a little bit more with your track.